Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now you may remember this machine from a few videos ago. I purchased it from Cash Converters for just £40, roughly 50 US dollars. A lot of you are asking how it would perform with a discrete graphics card considering that it didn't come with one, and today I thought we'd do just that. The A8 7650K CPU inside this thing does have an onboard GPU, though if you saw the previous video you would have seen that performance is rather shocking these days. This is an FM2 Plus CPU and there's nowhere really to go as far as upgrades are concerned. The short-lived FM2 Plus socket launched in 2014, just 2 years before AM4, and the CPUs on offer had a maximum of 4 cores and 4 threads. They were all okay, but these days any one of them will be a huge bottleneck in pairing with any modern entry-level graphics card. Nonetheless, I've scraped off that weird chocolate and or caramel stain, slapped a graphics card in here, and now I want to give the FM2 Plus socket one last send-off. I sold the power supply that was in here for no reason other than it was quite old, and managed to find a newer 500 watt EVGA unit for the same price, so I thought I may as well go for it. This wasn't necessary to power our graphics card, but I can reuse this PSU in another system without worrying too much about it going pop. The graphics card is a 1060, the 3GB version. Now this is way too powerful for the A8 7650K, but we're in this weird timeline right now where it can be found cheaper than a 1050 Ti, and that's the card I was originally going to go with. Now even though the former is better, despite the lesser memory, yeah, in some places these do go for less, so bear that in mind. I still wouldn't recommend pairing it with one of these, it's completely overkill. I'd also recommend upgrading to an SSD if you plan to use a machine like this on a daily basis, as this 5400 RPM WD purple drive is going to make using this PC even more painful. It did come with 16 gigs of dual channel DDR3 clocked at 1600 MHz though, so we're good to go in that regard. Realistically, if you do find an FM2 Plus based PC in the wild for a very low price, or even free, because I wouldn't pay that much more for one, it will still be fine for everyday usage, in all seriousness. And if you wanted to add a graphics card into the mix, then something like a 2GB 950 or Radeon 550 would probably be the maximum I'd suggest. Now you'd be limited to older games, but this is not a socket I could in any way recommend for any AAA game from within the last half a decade anyway. That said, you asked for this, so I will deliver. This system gives me bad vibes, but let's give the FM2 Plus A8 7650K one last chance to try its best before forgetting about it altogether. Will we see any playable results today? Well, let's find out. Don't build this PC, I'll have a better PC for a very similar price built on the channel very soon. I should say that now. This is just, I'm just trying to make the best out of a bad situation with this system, so hopefully we can play some games. Now our first title here is OG Skyrim. There's a dragon flying above me here, and this seems to be affecting the frame times a little bit. So far so good though. As you'll see, the GTX 1060 3GB throughout will probably be at about 50% or less utilisation due to the high CPU usage. Alright, here he is flying overhead. As you can see, there are a few spikes in the frame time graph. Not too bad, the average I imagine is quite close to 60. I'm trying to play this as I commentate over it. There's a bear there. Let's just, there we go, very nice. Yeah, this is really not too bad, but Skyrim's very old, and it's the sort of game that the A8 7650K or any FM2 Plus CPU should run fine. You don't need a 1060 though. Now Kingdom Come Deliverance, we did test this the other day with the integrated graphics. I think we ran it at about 600p or 480p, something like that. It actually ran okay. Here it's still doing okay. I mean the CPU is like maxing out at 100% as expected. The 1060 once again just hit 0% utilization just then, so that was interesting. But for the most part, yeah, it's gonna drop, I imagine, as you get into busier areas. Yes, here we go. This is an absolute disaster. I expected this. I don't think you should build a PC using any FM2 Plus socket CPU, but As I said, I wanted to try this out because you guys asked me to, so here we go. It's certainly making for some entertaining gameplay, but realistically, stay away from this old socket. Even if you do intend to pair it with an older graphics card, it's not going to be brilliant if you want to play some games. Now, Red Dead Redemption 2 seems to be doing okay outside of Valentine here. The frame rate is actually a lot higher than I anticipated, even though the CPU is once again the bottleneck here. The GPU is being utilised at around 70 to 80%. I think this is going to drop as we head into the town. Yes, it's already dropping towards 30 FPS here. Will it go any lower? Will it stay above 30? Oh, 28. I guess not. 26? No, maybe not. Okay, not so good. Not as low as I thought, which is quite surprising. The 16 gigs of RAM I think is really helping as well, especially in dual channel, but there's only so much that this can do because, yeah, our CPU is rather limiting. I think I made a 1060 video not too long ago, but I think I'll revisit some really new games, 2023 games with the 3 gig card, because it'll be interesting to see how that's affected these days. Red Dead, not so bad though, not as bad as I thought. Forza Horizon 5 is also running with over 30 FPS. Of course, the 1060 in a more powerful build is capable of so much more. Almost all the VRAM is still being utilised though. This is a 3 gig card after all, probably not enough for those higher texture settings in 2023, but it seems to be doing okay here. Some massive stutters that may put you off or affect your performance in those multi-competitor races, but all in all, not awful. Not good, but not that bad. Now, a system like this is still best suited to those esports games, things like CSGO here. Of course, it's not going to be perfect. There will still be a few stutters, but this is better than what you can expect with just using the A8's integrated graphics. And considering the 1060 3 gig these days is so cheap, in a lot of places anyway, might not be the case everywhere, it may be a worthy addition to even an older system like this if it's just those older or weaker games that you do run. I mean, you can always upgrade the motherboard and CPU later down the line and purchase a GPU like this in the meantime, if you don't want to play those AAA and demanding games, of course. What's funny about Fortnite is that it loaded literally as like the purple cloud filled the screen. It took so long to load, it didn't even have anything to do with the connection. I'm using a wired connection, it's just that the CPU's so bad it didn't even want to load until I'd already died almost. I did try again, and as you can see here, this is actually pre-recorded, this bit of gameplay, because I wasn't sure if it was going to work. But it did, and the frame rate wasn't too bad, managed to get a couple of kills as you can see there too. So Fortnite's playable, and it would probably be even better with the performance preset, but I stuck with DirectX 12 here at the low preset with 100% res scaling. Now GTA 5, let's just say it's taking a while to load in the assets. Oh, there we are, my door has just appeared. Let's enable the FPS overlay and go outside. 100% usage already. Any other missing textures here? Yeah, I think there's a few things missing in the background. Everything seems to be loaded in now, and it's not brilliant, but it is playable, I think. Overwatch 2 here is another good example of an esports game that will run okay. Even though the CPU utilisation is going to be sitting at 100% pretty much all of the time, the performance isn't going to be too bad overall. You're still going to get an average of plus 60 FPS without too many heavy dips and drops. Not that bad, but I wouldn't recommend a pairing like this. I just wanted to add a graphics card to this PC to see what the A8 could do in 2023, and to be honest, not much, but I mean, for £100 all in all, there are certainly better systems I could put together. I think it's time to say goodbye to the FM2 Plus socket now. This is the last you'll see of this PC, I imagine, on this channel. The 1063GB is certainly overkill for it, but nice to know that a few games are still somewhat playable, even if the CPU has had its day. Thank you very much for watching then. I'll have another build for you very soon actually, perhaps using an older i7, trying to stick to a similar sort of budget for that one as well. If you enjoyed this one, leave a like, leave a dislike if you didn't. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hopefully I'll see all of you in the next one.